What if the only thing standing between you and your full potential is belief in yourself? What if true confidence didn't come from outside validation, but from something deeper, something earned through discipline, intention, and daily commitment? And here's the real question. Are you living as the person you believe you can be? If you're on a journey of self-mastery and growth, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and join a community committed to building strength from within. This isn't about hype. It's about ancient wisdom, modern action, and the kind of belief that withstands every storm. 1. Self-belief. More than confidence. Self-belief is often misunderstood in today's culture. It's easily confused with arrogance or a shallow kind of confidence, like standing in front of the mirror and repeating, "I can do this," without ever taking action. But from the Stoic point of view, self-belief is not about puffing up your ego or reciting motivational quotes. It's a deep, unshakable alignment with your values, cultivated through consistent, purposeful living. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, exemplified this concept. Despite ruling over a vast empire and having the power to impose his will on millions, he was constantly wary of ego. In his meditations, he wrote not to impress others, but to remind himself to live in accordance with reason, justice, discipline, and courage. His belief in himself was not built on titles or accomplishments. It came from integrity, his daily efforts to act rightly, regardless of applause or criticism. Self-belief begins with an honest inventory of who you are and who you want to become. It's not about where you are right now. It's about what you're building. When your thoughts are intentional, your words are truthful, and your actions are consistent, you begin to experience something deeper than confidence. You feel alignment. That alignment generates trust, and that trust is self-belief. It's tempting to seek validation from others, likes, praise, admiration, but those are fleeting. True self-belief doesn't need an audience. It's quiet. It lives in the early morning workout when no one is watching. It shows up when you say no to something that feels good but doesn't serve your principles. It's there when you admit you were wrong, because honesty matters more than pride. Think of self-belief like building a temple. Each brick is a decision you make, telling the truth when it's hard, resisting temptation when it's easy to give in, staying focused when distractions call your name. Over time, brick by brick, you raise a structure that stands firm even when storms come. Importantly, self-belief isn't about being certain of success. It's about being certain of your commitment. The Stoics never promised success, only effort. Epictetus reminded his students that external events are not up to us, but how we respond is. When you accept that your actions matter more than outcomes, you free yourself from fear. That's where self-belief lives, not in control of results, but in control of effort. This belief is earned. You can't fake it. You can't shortcut it. You build it one day at a time through choices that reflect the kind of person you aim to be. When you live like that, you don't have to tell yourself to believe in yourself, you just do. 2. Discipline, the highest form of self-respect. Discipline is often portrayed as harsh, restrictive, or joyless. In modern culture, it's commonly linked to punishment, self-denial, or military-style rigidity. But to the Stoics, discipline was something entirely different. It wasn't about suffering. It was about self-respect. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I am rising to do the work of a human being.'" That simple line captures the heart of discipline. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about honoring your potential. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, not because someone is watching, but because you respect who you're becoming, that is discipline. Each time you follow through on your word, each time you choose purpose over pleasure, each time you delay gratification for something more meaningful, You are practicing self-respect. You're telling yourself, I matter, my future matters. Discipline isn't built in dramatic moments. It's formed in the small decisions that accumulate over time. Skipping a workout once doesn't ruin you, but consistently choosing comfort over commitment chips away at the person you want to become. Conversely, when you do the thing you said you'd do, especially when it's hard, you build integrity. You begin to see yourself as someone who can be trusted. There's a quiet power in discipline. You no longer have to negotiate with yourself. You don't wait for motivation, you simply do what needs to be done. As Marcus said, just do what needs to be done. That's all you can ask. You eliminate the drama. You reduce the friction. You make peace with effort. Discipline gives you freedom from chaos, distraction, and regret. It allows you to move through life with purpose. When others are panicking, you are prepared. When others are lost in impulse, you are focused. This clarity builds momentum, and with that momentum comes confidence. Not the superficial kind, but the kind that comes from knowing you're living with intention. This isn't about perfection. You will stumble, you will fail. But discipline gives you the framework to return to your path. It reminds you that your worth isn't tied to a single moment. It's built over time. Discipline turns chaos into order, emotion into direction, and ambition into achievement. And when you practice discipline long enough, you stop needing to push yourself. It becomes who you are. That's the highest form of self-respect, not forcing yourself to be someone else, but becoming who you've always had the potential to be. 3. Emotional mastery. Respond, don't react. Life is unpredictable. People will insult you. Plans will fall apart. You'll face disappointment, rejection, and frustration. The question isn't whether these things will happen. The question is how you'll respond. Emotional mastery doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means understanding them, processing them, and choosing your response deliberately. The Stoics never asked us to be emotionless. They asked us to be governed by reason rather than impulse. Marcus Aurelius faced immense pressure as emperor. He battled war, plague, betrayal, and personal loss, yet his writings rarely show outrage or despair. Instead, he asked himself, what can I control in this moment? That mindset is the essence of emotional mastery. We all experience anger, fear, jealousy, and sadness. These emotions are natural, but acting from them impulsively often creates more harm than good. When someone cuts you off in traffic, your first instinct might be to yell. But what does that serve? When a friend disappoints you, your impulse might be to lash out. But does that align with the kind of person you want to be? Emotional mastery gives you space between stimulus and response. It allows you to ask, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? What action aligns with my values? This practice isn't easy. It takes awareness and humility. But the more you do it, the stronger you become. You realize that emotions aren't enemies. They are signals, but you are the one who decides how to act on them. When you choose to respond instead of react, you are demonstrating strength. Not the kind that comes from force, but the kind that comes from wisdom. You show yourself that you are not ruled by fear, by anger, or by ego. You show yourself that you are in control. This is where self-belief grows. When you can face chaos and remain calm, when you can be provoked and still choose compassion, when you can experience fear and still take courageous action, you reinforce your belief in yourself. That kind of control is not about domination over others. It's about mastery of the only thing truly within your power, your mind. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you won't feel. It means your feelings don't dictate your fate. That is the heart of Stoicism, and that is true freedom. 4. Language, ritual, and identity. Words matter. This is not just a poetic sentiment, it is a psychological and philosophical truth that reverberates across traditions, from ancient Stoicism to modern cognitive science. The words we use, especially those we speak to ourselves, don't simply describe our reality, they shape it. Language is not neutral, it's creative, constructive, or destructive. Each sentence we repeat inside our heads becomes a thread in the tapestry of our identity. Think about the quiet voice that emerges when you fail. Do you hear a harsh critic or a calm teacher? Do you say, "I'm worthless," or "I'm learning"? The first strips you of dignity, the second equips you with resolve. The internal dialogue we maintain is like the background hum of a machine. It runs constantly, guiding our emotions, decisions, and self-image. Say you're weak enough times, and eventually you'll act like it. Say you're improving, even if you stumble, and your behaviors will slowly align with that belief. This isn't blind optimism. It's the psychological truth that thoughts lead to emotions, and emotions guide actions. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote privately to himself, not to impress others, but to shape his own soul through repeated truth. His journal was an act of linguistic self-sculpting, a ritual of meaning. And that brings us to ritual. Rituals make belief tangible. They give language a body. If words are the architecture of the mind, then rituals are the construction crews, hammering, chiseling, building day by day. Morning intentions, where you set your focus for the day. Evening reflections, where you review your actions. Daily habits, where ideals become practices. These aren't just time-blocked routines to improve productivity, they are spiritual, scaffolding, acts of deliberate identity formation. Take a simple act like making your bed. On the surface, it's mundane. But if it's done as a conscious commitment to order, to starting the day with intention, it becomes sacred. The same applies to preparing a cup of coffee, journaling for 5 minutes, or reciting a personal mantra. These actions, when repeated mindfully, become rituals that reinforce who you want to be. And who you are is not something fixed, bestowed upon you at birth. Identity is fluid, formed through what you repeatedly do and say. This is a core Stoic insight. Epictetus emphasized that you become a philosopher not by talking about philosophy, but by living it, by acting in accordance with reason and virtue every day. In other words, your character is not defined by grand moments, but by the small, repeated ones. And rituals, intentional, purposeful ones, allow you to align your daily actions with your deepest values. So ask yourself, what words are you feeding your mind? Are you narrating a story of defeat or one of resilience? What rituals fill your days? Are they empty habits or meaningful practices? To live a good life, according to Stoic philosophy, is not to chase external validation, but to cultivate internal alignment. You do this by choosing your words wisely and repeating the rituals that strengthen the self you aspire to become. Because in the end, what you do becomes who you are. And who you are is built, quietly, consistently, and intentionally, through the language you use and the rituals you keep. 5. Endurance, doubt, and the legacy you leave. Doubt is not a flaw, it's a feature of being human. Every person striving towards something meaningful will, at some point, hear the whisper, "What if I'm not enough?" The Stoics knew this. They didn't preach invincibility, they practiced endurance. Endurance is not blind suffering. It is strength made stable. It is courage stretched over time. And courage, according to the Stoics, is one of the 4 cardinal virtues. Not just the courage to charge into battle, but the quieter kind. The courage to wake up, show up, and persist, even when the world is heavy and your own mind turns against you. Doubt may visit, but belief keeps you moving. And belief isn't just emotion, it's action. It's continuing the path even when the way forward is foggy. It's choosing to plant seeds whose fruit you may never taste. In that way, endurance is deeply connected to legacy. Today's culture often measures legacy by fame, fortune, or some tangible external accomplishment. But the Stoics saw things differently. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, had the power to command armies and build monuments. Yet his most lasting contribution is a private journal of thoughts on virtue, discipline, and mortality. He wasn't trying to impress future generations, he was trying to live rightly. And that pursuit became his legacy. A Stoic legacy is not made of titles, trophies, or trending posts. It is built from the fiber of your character. How did you treat others when you had the power to ignore them? How did you respond when life knocked you down? What values did you uphold when compromise was easier? Your endurance is part of your legacy, not just in what it helps you achieve, but in what it reveals about your spirit. Consider someone who quietly shows up for their family every day, works with integrity, and lives with compassion. They may never make headlines, but their impact is profound. Children grow stronger in their presence. Colleagues feel steadied by their dependability. Their life is a living testament to the power of consistency and virtue. In contrast, someone who achieves greatness through shortcuts, manipulation, or vanity may leave behind material success, but no spiritual substance. Stoicism reminds us that how we live matters more than what we win. And here's the paradox. When you stop obsessing over legacy and start focusing on living rightly, you often leave the most powerful mark. Because people remember character. They remember presence, patience, and principle. These are the echoes that remain long after we're gone, so when doubt arises, and it will, don't let it paralyze you. Let it sharpen you. Let it test your foundation. Ask yourself, are you acting from fear or from values? Are you enduring for ego or for something higher? A Stoic endures, not because the path is easy, but because the purpose is worthwhile. You endure not for applause, but because living with integrity is its own reward. And that's the legacy, not just what you do, but how you do it. With endurance, with humility, with courage that doesn't clamor for recognition. Because in the end, the truest legacy is not what you leave behind. It's what you pass forward in the form of character, presence, and example, and that endures far longer than gold or glory. Live with intention. So, will you live today with belief or hesitation? Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." Self-belief isn't about proving anything to the world, it's about becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to. If that's the journey you're on, subscribe, stay with us, and walk the path. With intention, your legacy starts now.